UFC 317 goes down this Saturday night at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. And this thing is going to be huge because you got one of the best divisions in the UFC, if not the best, in the lightweight division. We got a title up for grabs, the vacant title. You got Topuria versus Charles Dubronx Oliveira. And this is Oliveira's chance to reclaim the belt, although it will be interesting to see what Topuria can do, moving up from featherweight to lightweight. Will he continue to dominate in this division as well? And then, of course, in the co-main event, you got a big one as well because you got the flyweight title on the line. Alessandra Pantoja, 29-5, Brazilian current champ, seems unstoppable, taking on Kai Kara France from New Zealand. Also, some other big fights on the card: Jack Hermanson versus Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez. You got Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. Brandon Royval versus Joshua Van in the flyweight division. Joshua Van just fighting at UFC 316. So can he continue moving up the ranks? So a lot of big fights to get into, and we will do that next.
Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is the TCMMA podcast with your host, Chris Cross.
Whoa!
Dana White privilege.
Let's go, baby! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, baby!
Dana White privilege. Privilege.
What up? What up? This your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is the TC MMA podcast, and the topic of today's discussion is UFC 317. And there are just some big fights up and down this card. Of course, you heard some of the main fights there moments ago, but if you just look at the early prelims, you got Cedric Dumas taking on McVeigh, a newcomer. The guy's 6-0. And you got two fights that are similar to this, or this situation in the early prelims, because you also got Jonata Diniz, Brazilian 8-1, taking on Alvin Hines, who's also another American undefeated fighter making his UFC debut. He's 7-0. So how will both of those fights go early on? Nico Price versus Smith. Okay. And Smith is a 20-1 favorite. Am I seeing that right? Isn't he? Really? I mean, I believe Jacoby Smith is going to beat Nico Price, but 20-1 favorite, I don't know. So that's the early prelims. Then you get into the regular prelims. You got Terrence McKinney versus Vyacheslav Borshev, Viviane Araujo taking on Tracy Cortez, and all these predictions are done at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@TCMMA podcast. Featherweight division, and this is a big one people are talking about. Hyder Emil, 11-0 from the Philippines, taking on the American Jose Delgado. He's 9-1. So, and people cannot believe Emil is the dog. But then you get into the prelims, and this is where we're going to begin our predictions, because you got Jack Hermanson, 24-8 from Norway, taking on the Brazilian Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez. He's 16-6, and to me, RoboCop is up and down, right? He's been more up lately, working his way up. But this is the situation where he tends to fall back. So the big question is, can Gregory Rodriguez overcome? We know what Jack Hermanson is. He's a big-time fighter. He's going to get to the top of the division, but he's not going to beat those guys. But he's beaten everyone below him for the most part. So to me, this is a very interesting prediction. Let's jump right in. In the middleweight division at UFC 317, you got Jack Hermanson taking on Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez. And I like this fight for obvious reasons. Now, RoboCop is a favorite, but should he be? Hermanson from Norway, 24-8. RoboCop, 16-6 from Brazil. And you know how I feel about Brazilians, but Jack Hermanson is very tough, to say the least. Hard to see him as an underdog here. RoboCop 2 inches taller, 6'3". He's 33. Hermanson 37. Both guys stand right-handed. Hermanson has a 3-inch reach advantage. RoboCop 5.6 significant strikes per minute to 5.1 for Hermanson. In terms of the takedown game, Rodriguez gets 2 over 3 rounds. Hermanson gets 1 every other round. So they're sort of on pace in every area, although you give the edge in the stats slightly to RoboCop, which is why he's the favorite, right? Hermanson 80% takedown defense. That'll even that. He beat Joe Piper by decision last time out, 121-92 in significant strikes, lost to Roman Dolise. He was winning that fight until he got KO'd in the second round. He beat Chris Curtis by decision. RoboCop, 88% takedown defense. I mean, the guy's Brazilian, right? He lost to Jared Cannonier by 4th round KO. All right, but that's still Cannonier. Beat CLD, Christian Leroy Duncan by decision, 4 takedowns to none. 2 takedowns to none, 71-37 in significant strikes over Brad Tavares, which led to the 3rd round KO, and beat Denise Tiuliulin by 1st round KO. And this one is stepping out on the ledge if you go with RoboCop, which I do believe he'll win the fight. But Hermanson worries me because he's had, I mean, they both had a long career, but Hermanson has had a long career. He's 37, now 40. He's still very capable. He can stand and strike. He can go to the ground. He's got a lot of areas of strength. And the chin of Rodriguez worries me, right? I mean, but the last time he was KO'd, well, he was KO'd against Cannonier, and then Bruno Ferreira KO'd him in 2023. And Jordan Williams KO'd him at the Contender Series back in 2020. So it doesn't have like a lot of KO losses, but for some reason it just worries me that he could get KO'd here. But I got to believe it's going to go to a decision where RoboCop will win 2 rounds out of 3 with the strikes and the ground game. It'll take over. So in my opinion, he gets the win and move to 17-6. Middleweight division. UFC 317. Yeah, so RoboCop is our guy in this one. And I don't take this prediction lightly because if you didn't hear, I'm very aware of how good Hermanson is. I mean, he's very capable of going in and winning this fight. It's Gregory Rodriguez who's got to be consistent here. He's got to put together another big fight and get the victory if he wants to be relevant. And if there's anyone I think can get close victories, it's the Brazilians. They always seem to fight better than one may expect, depending on who you are. For me, the Brazilians, whatever I think is going to happen, they always fight a little bit better than that. So I have no problem taking the Brazilian in this close fight. Now, as we jump up to the main card, here's where things get interesting. Now we're into the pay-per-view. You got Peyton Talbot versus Felipe Lima, 9-1 versus 14-1, USA versus Brazil. And I keep telling people, don't invite Brazil to the party. That's why we got the T-shirts made up, right? Don't invite Brazil to the party because it usually doesn't go well. But will we go with Lima in this one? Let's find out. Let's dive right in right now. In the bantamweight division at UFC 317, you got Peyton Talbot taking on Felipe Lima. This is a high-level fight. In the prelims, Talbot, American, he's 9-1. Lima, Brazilian, 14-1. So you can see why this fight's scheduled. It's really a test for Talbot. Talbot's 4 inches taller, 5'10". He's 26. Lima, 27. So 2 guys well below the prime window right now. Mid to late 20s. So they got a long way to go in terms of being at their peak. Talbot, 3-inch reach advantage. He's a switch stance fighter. Lima fights right-handed. Talbot, 6.7 significant strikes per minute, 3.5 for Lima. But you know what that means. Lima's got a ground game. He lands nearly 2 takedowns over the course of 3 rounds. But Talbot has defended takedowns 75% of the time. That'll be helpful. He did lose to Raoni Barcelos by decision, right? 8 takedowns to 1. So, you give up 8 takedowns in a fight and you still got 75% takedown defense. That means you're stopping all other fighters. But when you get up against a solid Brazilian, he takes you down at will. So we know Talbot can now, be taken down. So that 75% is a little less legitimate after the Barcelos fight. Before that, he won 4 in a row, including Reyes Cortez Jr. at the Contender Series. He beat Nick Aguirre, submission, and back-to-back KOs over Cameron Simon and Giannis Gomori. Now Lima beat Miles Johns by decision and Muhammad Naimov by submission. So this guy is beating some quality opponents. Gosh, I like Peyton Talbot, and he very well could win this fight. He could step up and win this fight. But I think this is going to be a lot like the Barcelos fight. Uh, Lima may not go for as many takedowns, but he's going to need to. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. If Talbot worked on the takedown defense and he can only, he only gives up one or two, he'll win the fight. But if he gives up three or more, or Lima gets him down, of course, there's submission opportunities, gets him down and controls him for long periods of time and doesn't need a lot of takedowns, Lima can win that way too. So I just think Lima has a lot of advantages in the fight, except in the stand-up game. And I think when you got good takedowns, especially in this situation, you're going to end up winning the fight. So I like Lima to win by decision, potential submission, but likely by decision, to move to 15-1, bantamweight division, UFC 317. All right, so it's real simple. In back-to-back fights, we're going with the Brazilian. When things are close, if they're even, we're going with Brazil. If there's even a little bit of leg room where we feel like, okay, the Brazilian's going to win, we're definitely going with the Brazilian. We're not going to second guess ourselves. That's the way we do it in these situations. So Felipe Lima, in my opinion, will jump to 15-1. Now, in fight four, it doesn't get any easier. Lightweight division, right? We know the title's on the line later on in this card. You got Beneil Dariush, who's kind of sort of been struggling lately, right? He's still 22-6. Moicano continues to be consistent. He's 20-6. That's why this fight is kind of even, right? You see kind of Dariush falling off from what you expected him to do. Moicano is coming up, so you got another Brazilian. And the question here is, are we going to go with the three-peat, really, for back-to-back-to-back Brazilian winners on this card? Let's jump right in. In the lightweight division at UFC 317, you got Beneil Dariush taking on Renato Moicano. Lightweight division, always exciting. Can't sleep or miss any of these lightweight division fights because they're all, controlling the movements of the division for sure. As guys try to move up and the top contenders try to keep them down. You have all that at play. Now, Dariush 22-6, Moicano 20-6. This is USA versus Brazil. Moicano 1 inch taller at 5'11". He's 36, so is Dariush. So the age may not be a factor here. Both guys equal reach, 72 inches apiece. Dariush fights left-handed, Moicano fights right-handed. In the stand-up game, that you give the edge to Moicano, 4.4 significant strikes per minute to 3.8. Takedown game equal to. Both guys get like almost just shy of 2 takedowns every 3 rounds. Dariush 80% takedown defense, Moicano 71. So they defend takedowns well. Dariush has suffered back-to-back losses, okay, but look at the opponents. Charles Oliveira, KO. Arman Sarukian, KO. So he has not looked good in the last 2 fights, but you're talking about 2 of the top contenders in the division, right? Oliveira's fighting for the title. Sarukian was supposed to fight for the title and had to pull out. So you go back to 2022, he beat Mateusz Gamrot. That's a huge victory. Tony Ferguson, okay. Diego Ferreira, okay. And anything before that is just too many years ago. The bottom line is he didn't look good in 2023. We didn't see him all of 2024. I know it doesn't seem that way, but we haven't seen him since December 2nd, 2023. Okay. So you're looking at like a 17, 18-month layoff. So we don't know what to expect here. We know Dariush has gotten older, but I think he's done the right thing here after back-to-back KO losses is to take some time off. Very important. Moicano lost to Islam Makhachev when he got catapulted into that title fight with Sarukian pulling out. He got submitted in the first round. But before that, he beat Benoit Saint Denis. To me, that's a big one. Second round KO. Jalen Turner, that's a big one. Second round KO. So that's where we can stop. He's won 2 of the last 3. Of course, he's going to lose to Islam for the title. But, those back-to-back second round KOs definitely put you in a title opportunity on short notice for sure. But the reality is here, Dariush to me is just slow it down. It will be somewhat interesting. We haven't seen him in 17 months because maybe he's obviously been training, rejuvenated, and looking forward. I think that's why the odds are close here. But Moicano, to me, the Brazilian, is just too much. In the last 3 fights, he's fought some high-level contenders and looked really good doing so. We don't know how Dariush would match up with those because he's only lost to Oliveira and Sarukian. So it's a tough prediction for sure, and it's a lightweight division, but we're going with the Brazilian in this one. We like Moicano. to get the job done here. No doubt about it. And the fights in America, don't invite Brazil to the party. You already know. And that's what's happening here. And Moicano will spoil the party. He'll get the win, in my opinion, move to 21-6, lightweight division, UFC 317. Don't invite Brazil to the party or it will be spoiled. That's what I'm always telling you guys. That's why we have the shirts printed up. Don't invite Brazil to the party. If you do, it's going to be a problem, especially in close fights. And therefore, that's why we're picking Brazil, 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 back to back to back in three straight fights, rolling from the main event in the prelims and the first two fights here in the pay-per-view main card. Fight 3 is one that I just love. Brandon Royval. This is flyweight division. Brandon Royval versus Joshua Van. We all know what Brandon Royval is capable of. This guy's a solid fighter. This is why this fight is even. Joshua Van is on the rise. He's 14-2. We've seen guys in multiple divisions right on the rise until they reach their ceiling. Where is Joshua Van's ceiling? The tough thing for him here is that he just fought at UFC 316 like 3 weeks ago. Okay, so can he rebound and continue looking as good as he does? We're going to find that out here. I'm worried about him being tired, but Joshua Van is 14-2 for a reason. He's very capable of getting the job done. So let's jump into this prediction right now. In the flyweight division at UFC 317, you got Brandon Royval taking on Joshua Van. And this is a high-level matchup at the top of the division because Brandon Royval is the number one contender right now. Royval 4.5. Before we get into that, Royval is 5'9". Joshua Van 5'5". So Royval's got a 4-inch height advantage, if you will. Now, in terms of the stand-up game, Royval 4.5 significant strikes per minute to 8.2 for Joshua Van. Takedown game, both guys less than one takedown per 3 rounds. Van 81% takedown defense, Royval 45% takedown defense. Now, I believe Joshua Van wants to keep this fight standing, right? Because he lands 8.2 significant strikes per minute. So he definitely wants a stand-up striking affair. Royval can land takedowns, but in his last 2 fights especially, he won them both against Tatsuro Taira split decision and Brandon Moreno split decision. So he's fighting at a high level. He led in significant strikes, but trailed in takedowns. That's what led to the split decision. He's not going to have to worry about that in this one. In the last 2, he landed 145 and 124 in terms of significant strikes. So Van is going to hope to come in. And if he can land 8 significant strikes per minute, right, you're looking at like 120. 120 significant strikes over the fight. But Royval has shown he can maintain that pace too, and that's with takedowns. So he can probably get closer to 200 in a 3-round fight if he went off. So both of these guys are going to be going at it. It's going to be a high level of striking affair. I think they're going to avoid the takedowns. I think they're going to stand up and it's going to be a delight at the flyweight level. So, could we see a finish? Maybe. But at the end of the day, I think Brandon Royval, in the experience, I mean, the guy's 17-7. He got the experience, but yeah, too many losses. Joshua Van 14-2. I'm just worried with Joshua Van that he's coming back just 3 weeks later after UFC 316. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to lean with Joshua Van. I'm kind of going back and forth in my mind. That's how close this fight is to me. But I'm going to lean towards Joshua Van. I think the significant strikes and the activity are going to pay off. I mean, you saw what he did against Bruno Silva in the last fight, 125 significant strikes, defended the takedowns well. But against Ray Sarai, he gave up 4. So anything can happen here. But I'm going to lean towards Joshua Van winning this thing. The guy's got 4 in a row coming in. Look for him to get 5 in a row, and he jumps way, way up to the top of the division. So this is a big opportunity for him. In my opinion, he gets the W by decision to move to 15-2. Flyweight division, UFC 317. Yeah, so it's certainly not going to be easy for Joshua Van. He won at 316. He's coming back on short notice. You're going to have to lose the weight again, make weight, right? Your body is being depleted over a period of a month. You had the nice training camp going into 316. You don't have the nice training camp here. Now you're just trying to maintain. That's a little bit harder for an athlete Some athletes don't adjust well to that. They need a full training camp. They need to restart. They need like a 2 or 3 week break, if not 2 or 3 months, reset, go through camp, fight again. Well, Joshua Van's saying, I'm ready to go. And you got to respect that because if you lose, it knocks you back a little bit. But now you're in big time fights. So I don't think you lose a lot in this situation. In the co-main event, same division, flyweight division. You got Alexander Pantoja, current champ, Brazilian. You already know how I feel about Brazilians. He's 29-5. He seems unstoppable. Taking on Kai Kara France, who deserves the opportunity. He's 25-11 from New Zealand. Pantoja is about a 2.5 to 1 favorite in this one. So it's going to be a high level matchup. Does Kai Kara France have a chance? Let's find out. In the flyweight division at UFC 317, this is for the flyweight division title. You got champion Alexandre Pantoja taking on Kai Kara France, contender, right? So this is a big deal. Pantoja from Brazil, 29-5. Kara France from New Zealand, 25-11. A lot of losses there, right? 25-11. Now, Pantoja's 1-inch taller, 5'5". He's 35. Okay. Kara France, 32. Still within that prime window. Kara France, 1-inch reach advantage. Both guys stand right-handed. In terms of significant strikes and activity on the feet, they're basically equal in terms of the pace they're putting out, right? 4.6 per minute for Kara France, 4.4 for Pantoja. But the ground game is the difference maker. Pantoja gets like 1 takedown on average per round compared to 1 every 5 for Kara France. You're looking at 5 takedowns to 1 if this thing were to go to a decision, right? Just on their averages. Pantoja, 70% takedown defense. Kara France, 88%. So that's a big deal right there. If he can keep this fight standing, that will give him a shot to win the title. Pantoja's looked unstoppable, submitting Kai Asakura, beating Steve Erceg by decision, 9 takedowns to 1. Brandon Royval, decision, 8 takedowns to 0. Brandon Moreno, split decision, 6 takedowns to 2. So in 2 of those 3 fights against Royval and Moreno, he trailed in significant strikes, but the takedown game was dominant, right? So in his 4 title fights, you're looking at 26 roughly, 26 takedowns to 3. So that's what Kara France is going to be battling here, right? 26 takedowns to 3 is just domination. Now, Kara France beat Steve Erceg by first round KO. So that's what catapulted him into this title fight. But he did lose to Amir Albazi by split decision. Brandon Moreno, third round KO. So it's just, which one's going to show up, right? Pantoja took Erceg to a decision in what was really a great fight. Despite Erceg being taken down 9 times, he had 111 significant strikes and almost led in that category. So, but then Kara France goes in and KOs him. So how do you deal with that? With the fact that he also lost back-to-back fights to Albazi and Moreno. To me, the averages in this one, in terms of activity on the feet, the takedown game, takedown defense, I think all that is out the window. For me, Pantoja has just dominated his opponents, and I don't see that changing over the next year or two. I think Pantoja cruises to victory here, but Kara France is certainly a problem, and it's one contender that Pantoja cannot take lightly, and he won't. He'll get the win here, I hope, by finish, but he's probably going to be calculated here and take this thing to a decision. I expect a long fight, but Pantoja gets his 30th professional win, in my opinion, to move to 30-5 by decision, control time. He might trail in significant strikes, but that control time and takedown game is going to lead him to win 3 or 4 rounds here to keep the title. That's my opinion. Flyweight division co-main event at UFC 317. Yeah, so it's real simple. I mean, Pantoja is very likely to keep the belt here. I cannot see him losing. You've seen this before when a guy does lose, but very rare, right? We took O'Malley against Dvalishvili, but in the back of our minds, we kind of knew how that thing would end up, and we made a bad pick there. So Pantoja is likely to win this fight, and I don't see anyone pressing him for a long time. I mean, eventually he's going to get bored and have to go up to the bantamweight division, but right now he's just dominant down there. Now, as we jump into your main event, I mean, it's the vacant belt. You got Topuria coming up. You got Oliveira still, waiting in the wings. Of course, Makachev, probably feels like I've done enough. He goes to welterweight. That's what created the vacant situation. Okay. So you got a big situation here. And before we dive into this prediction, um, we wanted to update the due list real quick with John Jones out. This fight, a big part of the due list. But first, you got Hamza at 1, Islam 2. So Islam moved from 3 to 2. That's the highest he's been in a long time. Shavkat Rakhmonov number 3. So that's where you would break from pound for pound. That's why this is not a pound for pound list, right? That's where you would break from that. These are guys we think are going to beat usually other people below them, although sometimes there's a little shakeup. Then at 4, you got Dricus du Plessis, which is why that fight to me is the biggest fight in a long time, right? Huge, huge fight, 1 versus 4. Something is going to happen there. Tom Aspinall leaps way up to number 5 because now all of a sudden his stock has risen because he's the champ. John Jones is out of the way, and I don't see anyone stopping Aspinall for a good deal of time. And I like him. That's why he's here. Merab Dvalishvili at 6. Then we get to 7, and here's where things get interesting because Topuria is in this fight in the main event, right? Topuria is at 7, and then of course you got Alex Pereira 8, and Goliath 9. We still think that Pereira's probably going to win that fight. Volkanovski's back in the top 10. Jack De La Maddalena, number 11. He can move up though if he keeps winning. He's gonna have a big one against Makhachev though. Ian Machado Gary's still in there, right? He's not. He's barely, or I don't even know if he's in the top 5 of the welterweight right now. But he's one of our guys. And then of course you got Nunes and Harrison at 13 and 14. And as you work your way down, you see Pantoja there. He should be in color because he's fighting on this card. But he's going to eventually just take a big leap up to the top 10 at some point if he just keeps winning. Then you got Shevchenko, and then you see Charles Oliveira there. So this is a 7 versus 18 matchup in the main event here at UFC 317 in terms of the dude list. We've had a tough time with the dude list because already you should know that I'm going to take Topuria in this prediction. But it hasn't been this way throughout this year because there's been a lot of juggling of the do list, right? We had O'Malley versus Dvalishvili. We went with O'Malley, right? We should have went with Dvalishvili if we're staying true to the do list, but we've broken from our own do list this year because these fights are tough, very tough to predict. This one's going to be very close. But before we get into the prediction, let's jump right into how we got here. This is Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush.
Come on, Oliveira, get off your back, man. Dariush in firm control right now on top. And he slams Oliveira. And Oliveira, pulled Dariush down 2 minutes ago and remained on his back ever since. Oh, and a nice up kick. And Oliveira tries to get up, he gets up. Now the crowd's going crazy. A nice knee to the body. Come on, Oliveira. This is your chance. Now Oliveira's got Dariush pinned against the fence. Dariush with the hands wrapped around, but Oliveira gets loose. Here we go, finally. It's been a good 3 minutes since we've been in the stand-up. Boom, big right leg kick. Let's go, Olives. Let's go. Oh, big right. Let's go. Yes, let's go, Olives. Finish him, baby. Everybody's talking that smack like Oliveira's done. Come on, Olives. Big right. Let's go. Step in there, ref. Couple hammer fists. Step in there, ref. Step in there, ref. Step in there. Let's go. Let's go. Yes. Charles Oliveira, first round finish, baby. Over everybody, bro. He's finishing everybody, man. And Islam Makhachev, here we come again. I'll tell you what, he's exciting to watch, man. He is exciting to watch. The former champ is coming. And that, everybody's saying that Dariush is going to dominate Oliveira. I told you Oliveira would dominate him. He's still the best lightweight division fighter outside of Islam Makhachev. But when the crowd is kind of shocked, because everybody expected Dariush to win this, and Charles Oliveira just rocked him. And at one point, Dariush is covering up. And people underestimate the power of Charles Oliveira as he sits atop the octagon, and now the crowd's going crazy, giving Dubronx his respect. That's what I'm talking about. He's coming. So Charles Oliveira is going to get the win here. He's back. The Brazilian, he's going to move to 34-9 with the first round KO over Beneil Dariush, who falls to 22-5. And his mystique is gone here in the lightweight division at UFC 289.
Yeah, so Charles Oliveira getting the big victory in that one, right? I mean, just, firing on all cylinders, trying to get back to a title fight now. He's there. And then you fast forward all the way to UFC 308, almost 2 years later. Yeah, Topuria versus Max Holloway. Could Max Holloway get the belt back? I don't think so.
Ooh, nice body shot by Topuria. Ooh, Max coming in with a nice combo. Let's go, Max. Get that jab back. Max is letting loose a little bit here, which could be good or bad, but it just seems like Max is starting to get more confidence. Both guys trading at this point. Nice lead leg by Max. He does it again. Under 4 minutes left in round 3. Ooh. Come on. Oh, big right by Topuria. That changes everything. And Max is in a little bit of trouble now. And man, he caught him. Max Holloway slides out. And that definitely woke up Max, if you understand what I'm saying. Max Holloway moving slow now. Oh, down goes Max. Oh, no, and that's it. Topuria gets the finish by KO. And Max Holloway is finished. First time in his career. And you hate to see that for Max Holloway. And, he's fine, but he just can't believe it. And Ilia Topuria caught him. Volkanovski's like, whoa. Holy cow. Ilia Topuria finishes Max Holloway. His first finish in his career off of the big finish over Justin Gaethje. That's huge for Ilia Topuria. And it puts him on a way different level now, if he already wasn't on that level. He's going to move to 16-0. He's sitting atop the octagon. The crowd's going crazy. They're loving it. And Ilia Topuria will retain the featherweight title in dramatic fashion. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So that'll do it here at UFC 308.
Yeah, so long story short is both of those fights ended up leading to big finishes. They didn't directly lead into this fight, but those are some of the finishes that led us here. And, we forget who Oliveira is because Islam Makhachev is so good. But with Islam Makhachev out of the way, Oliveira would probably still be the lightweight champ, other than a guy named Arman Tsarukyan. Okay. But Arman Tsarukyan's getting bumped here just because, he had to pull out of the fight against Makhachev, so he's not getting this opportunity. Can Ilia Topuria come up and maintain his dominance? Let's find out right now. In the lightweight division, your main event, International Fight Week. At UFC 317, you got Ilia Topuria taking on Dubronx, a.k.a. Charles Oliveira. This is for the vacant lightweight title. And yes, if you didn't know, Islam vacated the belt to move up to welterweight. So let's do it. Topuria from Georgia, 16-0. Oliveira, 35-10. Don't let the record fool you. From Brazil. Oliveira, 3 inches taller at 5'10". He's 35. Topuria, 28. Oliveira, 5-inch reach advantage. Both guys stand right-handed. Topuria, 4.7 significant strikes per minute. Oliveira, 3.4. On the ground, Oliveira has a slight edge, but basically both guys get 2 takedowns every 3 rounds. So it's going to be very competitive in all categories. And you would expect Topuria to be fast. You'd expect Oliveira to have power. Excuse me. And when guys come up, it's always interesting to see how that's going to play out. Now, Topuria vacated the featherweight belt, right? He was the champ. He's got a 92% takedown defense. coming off the win over Max Holloway by third round KO. Volkanovski, second round KO. Josh Emmett, decision. Bryce Mitchell, submission. So the guy's just dominating everyone in his way. But this is the lightweight division, right? One of the divisions we all regard as one of the best in the UFC. So can you just walk in and win the belt? That's the question. Oliveira, on the other hand, 56% takedown defense. I don't like that. Coming off the win over Michael Chandler by decision. Okay, and he did it. It was pretty much even in significant strikes, but he did it with 5 takedowns. Lost to Arman Sarukian, split decision. Did not look good there. So imagine he wins his fight. You got to go up against Arman again. Not good. Not good. Before that, he beat Beneil Dariush by first round KO. And really, the last 3 don't matter. The Arman Sarukian fight does give us some good insight, but he lost to Islam for the belt by submission. He beat Gaethje. And how many did he win? Like 11 fights in a row after starting out 11-8 in the career. So the guy was on a roll. But the tricky thing here is Oliveira is 35. Not old, right? But he's 35. Topuria is 28. So Topuria is the up-and-comer, obviously won the featherweight belt, now coming to lightweight. People expecting big things. Oliveira was basically the champ if it wasn't for Islam. Now, I mean, Arman Sarukian would be the champ right now. So there's 2 guys that can beat him. Where does Topuria fit into that? And this is a very difficult prediction for me because I'm seeing Brazil on the name or the country for Oliveira. You know how I feel about the Brazilians, but Topuria has just been a bad dude, and he hasn't lost yet. You know, I love to see Oliveira win, and it's one of those fights where I might be rooting for Oliveira. I mean, I will be rooting for Oliveira, but I believe Topuria is going to win. So we've had a couple of these situations this year, and I'm not going to turn from the way we've gone throughout the year. I think Ilia Topuria is going to win the belt and move to 17-0, and he's probably going to do it with the striking. But man, if Oliveira hits you, it's a wrap. And we've seen Oliveira be very close to being finished, and he finds a way to continue going, especially against strikers. So it's going to be interesting. But I like Topuria to get the win. I have no idea how it's going to play out for him to do so. So that's a big question mark. We're going to find out because it's the best division in the UFC. It's a lightweight division at UFC 317. All right, so maybe we learned our lesson. At the end of the day, we go with Topuria, which is hard to believe because I'm a huge Oliveira fan. And with our luck this year, Oliveira will win this fight, right? But I don't think you can be wrong either way because we really don't know what's going to happen. Oliveira is very good. Topuria is coming up, so there's going to be a little bit of a size difference. Of course, Topuria will be bigger now, but it's still a rough situation. I mean, because, featherweight to lightweight, I mean, we saw McGregor do it back in the day. It's just not easy, man. It's just a very big jump. The size is different. Everybody's stronger, faster. Everyone's got a ground game, so it's really going to be interesting. So I kind of really surprised myself there because we do these picks months ago, and I thought I had Oliveira, but it turns out we got Topuria, which means maybe we're getting back to our winning ways because we got to stick to what the do list tells us, and that's that Topuria should win this fight. But it's going to be exciting. UFC 317 going down this Saturday night at T-Mobile Arena. For now, it's your boy Chris Cross. Have a great day and God bless. As always, peace.